Chaos erupts to possibly set up a triple threat match, but one match makes us go to sleep, so be sure to proceed with caution, near Naomi, and just keep watching. Welcome to the Doktor O'Kay Show. I am Doktor O'Kay, where we're always just keeping it real, and this is SmackDown from Bologna, Italy, where we'll start with the matches and just keep fighting on site as Damian Priest wastes no time in fighting Drew McIntyre on the ramp and then proceeds to win a tag match with a South of Heaven chokeslam. So Priest and Big Jim are the ones, and during this pre-match brawl, Jimmy dove onto both opponents, which is already better than Jay, and then Priest was just too strong with his strikes, and a clothesline that put a stop to a Kinshasa before he put it away, so this weird group goes to 1-0, and that makes McIntyre and Nakamura the twos, as they were also thrown together. And so they're 0-1, but more importantly, McIntyre clubbed Priest from behind after the match and relentlessly battered him with punches to the head, and he also landed another Claymore, so he will pick up a fine for that attack. And with two teams with absolutely no experience together, it certainly showed in its sloppiness, and at least Priest and McIntyre are heating up, and we'll just give it a not okay. Second, we just keep getting in the way as Sikoa and Tonga prematurely help Jacob Fatu, causing a disqualification in a match that was still certainly up in the air, but it means Braun Strowman becomes the #1 contender for the US title. So Strowman is the ones, and he took control late with a freight train over the announce table and then a spine buster in the middle of the ring. And when he saw Tama Tonga, he grabbed him and was about to hit a running power slam. But nope, Sikoa came from behind to land that Samoan spike, and that's what caused the DQ, but fortunately for Strowman, he was saved by LA Knight from a 3-on-1 beatdown, and he will also take this win to go to 3-1 in one-on-one matches, and yet he will now take on the guy that helped him next week in the US title match. And that means Fatu is the twos, and his highlight was a jumping clothesline to the floor, and he also had a nice super kick, Samoan drop, senton trifecta, but he showed his frustration after the match when his family tried to help him save face when he wasn't really going to lose the match at the moment. Nonetheless, this cost him a chance to become the #1 contender, so Sikoa and Tonga will get 1-week suspensions for causing DQs in a #1 contenders match, and Fatu will also get a fine for joining in on the beatdown, and then also backstage, Fatu will get a second fine for causing some equipment to be destroyed. But most importantly here, Fatu goes to 1-5 in singles matches and just 3-9 overall in 2025. Well, that is not very impressive, and also not quite as impressive as the prior encounters here, which was of course ruined by interference, so this match gets a not okay. Next, we just keep wishing we could count the sheep as Piper Niven and Zelina Vega put on a snooze fest while trying a half-dozen sleepers before Piper finally wins it with a crossbody. Huh, where have I heard that before? Okay, Piper is the ones, and she used her size advantage to not really anything, before Chelsea and Alba both took ones for the team with their distractions, and that allowed Piper to land that crossbody. And who knew we'd see crossbodies win matches twice in 1 week after they had never won a single match before? And I guess this actually makes Piper 2-3 in one-on-one matches. And does that actually make her the #1 contender to face Chelsea? Interesting. Alright, well, Zelina is the twos, and she was scrappy and landed a pair of Meteoras and eventually a 619, but she could not complete a code red with multiple tries, so she's 0-1 in 2025. Well, I guess we learned why these two were a combined 3-31 in all singles matches since SummerSlam of 2023. And yeah, with all those sleeper attempts, this is indeed was a match that we wish that we had slept through. So very obviously, double not okay. Next, we just keep proceeding with caution as Jade Cargill has a strong return match until Naomi hit her in the face with the title belt that allowed Liv Morgan to send her into oblivion. So Liv is the one, and she called this match personal because Jade didn't clear her and Raquel of any wrongdoing for months. And she actually completed the three amigos this time around. But in the end, she got a huge assist with Raquel distracting the ref and Naomi, hitting Jade with that title so she gets her second straight one-on-one win to go to 2-2. And that makes Jade the twos, and it was a very impressive return to singles action for her first match since November, with several power moves including a powerbomb, a spinebuster, and a backbreaker, but most notably she reversed an oblivion into a German suplex. However, she couldn't fend off Raquel and Naomi both, so she takes her first pinfall loss ever since joining the WWE. So she goes to 3-2 in one-on-one matches all time in WWE, with her first loss being a DQ loss to Nia last year. And of course, Raquel and Naomi both pick up fines for their interference, and Naomi will then get a second fine for a post-match pummeling where she was swinging wildly on top of Jade and then landed that head scissors driver and finally pushed her into the announce table. And so Naomi, with a new do and an outfit with caution tape on it, shows that Jade better be cautious because she is officially on notice. Now simply, this is how it's done, ladies, except for that ending, of course, so we'll give it an okay. And in our main event, we just keep soaring to new heights as the Street Profits follow up their win with Dawkins flipping onto all members of Legado del Fantasma, and then Montez Ford soaring from the heavens to get their second win in 2 weeks. So the Profits are the ones, and they got 2 "You Deserve It" chants from the crowd, and then they gave Los Garza what they deserved when Escobar said that they wouldn't step aside. So the Profits are 8-1 in their last 9 traditional tag matches. And that means Los Garza is the twos, and they actually meant business today with some strong tag team wrestling, isolating the Profits in their corner, and they also had some standard chicanery where Escobar dropped the top rope on Dawkins, leading to a suicide dive by Berto. This will give Escobar another fine. And then they teamed up for a nice Garza special, but when they tried to put it away with an FTY, they were absolutely shocked that Ford was able to flip out of it, and this led to their downfall, so they're 1-4 in all tags. While this was a really solid showing by both teams, but the Profits are just on another level right now, so I have to admit it didn't quite feel like a last match of the night quality, but it was still okay. And with that, let's go beyond the mat for SmackDown, and the show actually kicked off with Kevin Owens interrupting Randy Orton before the latter could say anything, and Owens profusely apologized to Randy for attacking him, saying that his anger made him do something that he now regrets, and instead said it was just Rhodes and Zayn who deserved everything that they got, but not Randy. And then he also said that he saved Hayes last week to help Orton save him from himself, because no one wants to see that Randy Orton again. Then he strangely proposed going for the tag titles at WrestleMania, but Randy refused what he called a half-hearted apology, saying that the pile driver now has him hearing those voices in his head and he wants to kick KO's head off of his shoulders at WrestleMania. And sure enough, this match was made official later in the night, but because KO is always right, and of course, I believe him and his apology, this is really sad and unfortunate that Randy's being controlled by those voices again, but I will certainly admit that we'll get a great match at Mania, so this gets an okay. We had an exclusive interview with Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair in separate locations, where Charlotte said that she picked Tiffy because she felt sorry for her, and then Tiffy said that WWE doesn't bow to Charlotte anymore. And instead, it runs on Tiffy time. Well, I don't know why anyone thought that this was a good idea, and everyone is much more interested in seeing both of them in the ring every chance that we can get, so this has to get a double not okay. DIY found Pretty Deadly backstage, and they laid out the same quid pro quo plan, except with the roles reversed, offering to help Pretty Deadly win the titles so that DIY can get the first shots at them. And after the way Pretty Deadly was strung along by DIY, they smartly responded, "No boy!" And then they walked away, but the machine guns came up to DIY and they kind of killed the vibe by reminding DIY that they're not done with them yet. And because Pretty Deadly were very smart this time around and they will get their title shot next week, this segment gets an okay. We did get those two mystery vignettes again with that orange luchador as well as that black screen that eventually turns into a number 4. So I'm not exactly sure what that means yet, but I guess we'll find out soon. And I guess that means we'll have to keep giving it an okay. And after 16 consecutive absences, Roman Reigns finally returned to SmackDown with his prior appearance on November 22nd, 2024. And I guess he also updated his Titantron to steal from his High Chief that electricity effect, but I guess I'm glad that he is now showing fealty to the true leader of the bloodline, the High Chief, our final boss. And WWE at least had their best production idea in a long time, cutting to commercial during his entrance because he certainly cannot be bothered to timely make his way to the ring. And when Roman finally spoke, well, there's this little thing about admitting to attempted murder. What? He literally said that he tried to kill Rollins on Raw 2 weeks ago. So can someone please call the police and press charges? We need to get this maniac behind bars right away. So certainly you idiots can't possibly cheer for him after this, right? Because no one likes a murderer. Well, no one likes an attempted murderer because he couldn't even succeed at that. But then eventually, Seth Rollins, who he was trying to murder, came on out and he said that it's always been about the two of them, but CM Punk joined the fray as well, pointing out that Reigns wouldn't have made it to the Rumble if not for his help at War Games. Then he reminded Paul Heyman that he is owed a favor, and he thanked Heyman for serving up Reigns to him on a silver platter. Which of course immediately led to Punk jumping off of the turnbuckle and starting a melee by beating on Reigns, so Punk will get a fine for instigating this attack. And after a few moments, Rollins joined in as well, and of course, all three of them fought for several minutes until the show went off the air, and of course they could not be contained by the WWE officials and security guards, and indeed Rollins took out several of them in a suicide dive, so he has to get a 2-week suspension. But most notably, all three of them separately took moments to point at the WrestleMania sign, which I think this seems to indicate that they all want to fight each other at the show of shows. And with these three egos, I'm not sure much needs to be said, so let's just let them keep fighting and see what happens. So we'll give this an okay. Chaos is officially here as we're less than a month from WrestleMania, as we got another hot crowd in Europe. But if you missed the SportsZu's video about all the Easter eggs from Cena's dumping of the crowd on Monday Night Raw, be sure to go right on over here and check that out, because if you don't, you should have to watch Piper and Zelina on loop, which of course is double not okay.